Hey, what's up everyone? On this video I'll be going over the Sega Genesis Mini. This is a replica miniature of the original Sega Genesis model, also known as the Sega Mega Drive in other regions. This takes me back to the early 90s during the beginning of the console wars between Sega and Nintendo, a great time to be a gamer. During that time I was a Genesis owner and remember many classics. Back then I actually owned the original model as well. The box mimics the original box of the packaging of the Genesis. It has the black background with the white grid lines. It shows off the console in the front with the tagline, "Join the 16-bit revolution." And according to the box, this is the 30th anniversary of the Sega Genesis. It also mentions that it includes the mascot Sonic the Hedgehog. Nowadays, it's almost impossible to not think about Sonic without Sega and vice versa. On the back, we got the games pictured on what's included. It looks like a good lineup. I'll get in details on the games later. For now, it just says it includes 40 classic games and 2 bonus titles. On the side it mentions what's included. You got your USB power adapter, a power cable, and an HDMI cable. There's also an instruction manual. But let's show off the main attraction. Here it is, the Sega Genesis Mini. It looks beautiful and it has all the details from the original model, like the power button to turn on the console, the reset button to change games, save or go back to the main menu, and the volume control. You get 2 controllers and it feels just like the original controllers. Okay, so let's power on the console and we are greeted with a setup screen for languages. The language you pick also shows you different box art that's from different regions. A good example of this is the classic Sonic games in Japan. I always like these box art more than the American version. It has a unique look. You can pick 3 different wallpapers. You can also change the ratio, which honestly I'd rather leave it at 4:3. It just wouldn't look right if you stretch it by 16:9. You can also choose to put a CRT filter, which the majority of the video will use to give it that retro look. So let's go over the games included. You got Sonic the Hedgehog, Comic Zone, Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania Bloodlines, Space Harrier 2, Shining Force, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Toe Jam and Earl, Outer Beast, Gunstar Heroes, Castle of Illusions, World of Illusion, Thunder Force 3, Super Fantasy Zone, Shinobi 3, Streets of Rage 2, Earthworm Jim, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Contra, Hard Corps, Landstalker, Mega Man The Wily Wars, Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition, Ghouls and Ghosts, Alex Kidd, Beyond Oasis, Golden Axe, Phantasy Star 4, Sonic Spinball, Vector Man, Wonder Boy in Monster World, Tetris, Darius, Road Rash 2, Strider, Virtual Fighter 2, Alicia Dragoon, Kid Chameleon, Monster World 4, Eternal Champions, Columns, Dynamite Heady, and Light Crusader. Overall, it's a good addition to the retro novelty collection. I grew up as a Sega fan, and I'm glad to have this to my collection alongside my NES and SNES Classic. The game lineup is pretty decent. I do like that Sega invested in some third-party games, especially since Sega has always had their catalog open for many years. So I'm not disappointed that games like the other Streets of Rage and Sonic games are not included. Plus, I'm glad to have an official Sega Genesis Mini, because there's always been third-party ports of the Genesis. I gotta mention that certain games are worth mentioning, like Mega Man The Wily Wars. Well, I should say that it was never available physically, I should say. Castlevania Bloodline is a good addition too. Since Konami at the time made their games different for both SNES and Genesis, in the case of the Super Nintendo, the console has Super Castlevania 4, while the Genesis had Bloodlines. Speaking of Konami, the Mini also has Contra Hard Corps. The 2 bonus games were the Sega version of Tetris and Darius. I do like how in the interface, you can sort your games by alphabetical order, release date, genre, and number of players. I could go on and on about the games on the console. It's a good lineup. I think it's worth the price. As far as the controls, it feels fine. Like I said before, you get 2 wired controllers. However, it sucks playing Street Fighter 2 with the default controllers, since there's only 3 buttons to attack with. You could change punching kicks by pressing start during the match, but I would recommend using a 6-button controller. Speaking of the controller, you could also go back to the menu, save, and load by holding the start button for 5 seconds. I think I pretty much covered everything about the Sega Genesis Mini. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, give it a like. Comment on your thoughts on the console, and if you have any questions, feel free to post on the comments. Also, I do streams as well, so feel free to follow me on Twitch. And last but not least, make sure to subscribe. All these actions really help out the channel. Anyways, I am out. Peace.